Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, like I'm talking, I can't speak for Jared or like his feelings or his intentions, but just my sense of it is like when you're 16 and you're just like kind of raging around, it's like you have like the kind of like angst or kind of the anger of just like the world's fucked up, and like jocks are assholes and like cops suck and whatever, and not that they were working on a condition that was that shallow, but it's like anything, and then like this maybe these like more severe kind of things happen, and then you grow up and you learn like I don't know. I don't know, just yeah, it just got more serious, I guess. I don't know, that wasn't very eloquent explaining anything, but like it's just kind of was like, wow, this like there is some there's some like tangible and like experiential darkness in the world that like happened, and so how do you deal with it? As an artist, you like, you make stories. So, and at the same time, like, I mean, big business is still like, it's like, it's not like it's like a sad record, they're not sad, it's not sad like, woo, they're just like, okay, that's, the music is still like, pretty amazing. I don't know what I'm talking about exactly, but yeah, I guess, yeah, disagreeing with you, yeah.
Well, and the title of the band
Yeah.
definitely relates to big business is a very like mocking tone.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
of
Well, there's still all that I mean, it's still like that's the thing is like Carp. If anything, was just they were like sarcastic. That was always the tone of humor. It was always just pure sarcasm. Everything was just like that's what all the jokes were based on, sarcasm. The whole attitude was sarcasm, and they were just kind of this idea of like. They were just they weren't as people, they weren't this, but like if you say that there's this persona of Carp or something like that, it's like a lot of the times it was like we're brats, we're just big brats, and like that was kind of where like they were coming from. They were brats, but they weren't brats. The people they weren't, but I'm just saying like as a band that was kind of the attitude of like, well, fuck this, I don't want to do that like that, But then they also just like destroyed like kind of backed it up. But there's not that brattiness or like sarcasm in big business at all. I don't think so, But big business is just as much Cody too, So he brings his own thing to it as well. It's not Jared's band; it's their band, So.
I think age plays a lot into it too. Like Cody brings all of his experiences, and also everyone's just older.
Yeah.
And they were just like, this is like kind of whereas before it's like vomiting everything out.
Yeah.
I mean, now they're like,
it's refined.
Adults and artists, and they're like,
yeah.
Now we're doing this like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've gotten better. They just as artists and as hopefully you just get better as you do more things. And then now playing with Melvins is pretty amazing too. It's a funny like full circle, and not a full circle. I mean, it's just like it's not like it's some completion, but it's so weird to think about like just like sort of being younger and just like Melvins are just sort of this like ideal form, just like and when they were younger and when I was younger and just like that's kind of it. That's like the epitome of like as good as it can possibly be, and then all like like everyone's sort of comparing them to Melvin's, like Melvin's little brother or something like that, and then to like through all this like it's definitely not like a direct route to the fact that he's playing with them now. It's just all this like what the fuck, like just the only the way that like life could be like makes no sense. It's totally like random and like great things had to happen and fucked up things had to happen. That now like he's actually, he's playing with them. It's just pretty weird. Like, what? You see him and you're like, what? That's weird. 15 years later, I guess. Yeah. But I don't know what else. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I was thinking of. Scott used to eat Snickers bars and Mountain Dew almost exclusively for a long time. It seemed like he, I think I had to teach them about nutrition at some point. That's a tidbit.
Did they actually learn anything? Did you actually teach them anything?
I don't know. Maybe. They're like 19-year-olds left to their own devices. Not like I was any older or knew any better, but I knew not to eat Snickers bars and Mountain Dew for breakfast. I knew that was a bad idea.
Especially funny for the most like physical member of the band.
He was a total garbage. They were all kind of were, but he was like at least like, yeah, he was weird about food in a weird way. He just kind of like didn't want to eat, and he would just eat like candy bars and soda. And it was crazy, and everyone would give him shit about it. I mean, at least like Chris and Jared were eating like hamburgers or something, or pizza. But yeah, starting the day with like a cigarette and a Snickers bar. Gross.
So you mentioned, like, totally randomly Steve Martin. What other kind of stuff did they watch or listen to?
Let's see. I don't know. I mean, sort of like bands that were sort of, I guess, bands like outside of Olympia that were influential. I mean, there were, like, big ones were like Melvins, and probably like the Jesus Lizard, Steel Pole Bathtub. Like those were like these big kind of powerhouse bands at the time that were pretty influential. I don't know. They'd listen to Steve Martin records and like Evil Dead movies, just like, and like dumb comedies and stuff like that. I don't know exactly. You have to ask them. But it was I think there was like this, I know there was this kind of, it's almost like they were like a sketch comedy group or something at the same time. Like there was always like on tour or just like in times when they weren't playing, it was just like this always constant like this acting out of like just taking this one, like someone would say something just totally stupid or just it wasn't anything, and it would just like extrapolate out into like you could like make a TV show about it or something. There was always this like kind of this building of this weird narrative or something like that, or building of like, and that would just like sort of build and build and build like that, where it would turn into like a whole act potentially. But I don't know.
You were talking earlier about how you felt like because of the ferociousness of the music that you felt like it was a finite time period in which the band could exist.
Yeah.
This is just kind of my own like thing, but because I like to try to think a lot of times about how we all will survive this time in our lives when we're young and do these bands and do all these things. So how do we grow up and become adults? And do you think there's any chance that things had gone differently or could have gone differently, that they could have that they would have done more verbal projects or more playtime? I mean, this is totally hypothetical, clearly, but
I don't know. Like, what do you mean?
well, I mean, like, if maybe things had gone different, that they would have continued to play music, but also possibly have written out sketches. Because
Had a TV show or something?
Well,
I think that, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe. I mean, there seemed like there was always ideas thrown around of like there could be a TV show, or there, I mean, I think there was some like dabbling into like public access TV. You know, it was just like these other creative outlets that wasn't just making music. That it was like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know like what if could have happened, but it seemed like there was other like make little movies. You know, maybe if video had been like more readily available at the time as it is now, probably would have like made little movies and stuff like that. I think so. You know.
Because sound seems like it's the real accessible one, especially for like the age group and you know.
Sound is.
Yeah, music.
Well, there was also like there weren't a lot of in Olympia. There weren't a lot of other artistic models. Not that many going on. It was like like either you're in like a band, you know, you play music, or maybe like you make a zine, or like both. And that was kind of, there wasn't a lot of like, oh, I'm making movies, or or like I'm a painter, or like. That was part of the reason why I wanted to leave, because I was making other types of artwork, but it didn't feel like there were other artists there, like visual artists there, but it didn't feel like it really was like you could really talk to anybody about what you were doing, because it was so like music oriented. It's just like, well, I'm not in a band, but I'm still like an artist involved in this. So, but there's no real outlet for the other forms. That was starting to be, like there was starting to be people running small galleries and stuff. And, you know, I would put on shows with friends and we'd get a space and have art shows and stuff, but it seemed like it was, didn't have the same sort of audience or conversation or whatever.
What do you think of the towns and the labels, the K, I guess, now?
I don't even know. I mean, I've sort of like, I haven't really paid attention to that stuff for a long time. I mean, there was like the zenith, you know, there was a sort of apex of all this stuff was just like, just jamming, and all these things were happening. And I guess at the time you don't think about like, well, this might be just for a few years. But I think like, I don't know what the condition of K Records even is anymore. I mean, at a point they had like this huge space with maybe like 15 employees or something like that. I mean, I know it can't possibly exist like that anymore. I mean, it was like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what, like things have changed, I suppose. Like, I'm no expert, but it seems like this sort of like small label, like mail order world, I don't even know if that even really like functions. It definitely doesn't function like it did 15 years ago. And I don't know what records they're putting out or anything like that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely like not at like the sort of level of production, but I don't know. I have to be doing something. I don't know. Do you know? Is it even like anything?
You know, it's funny because I kind of feel the same way because it's kind of gone off the radar. Like it's kind of like
it just got like water. It got like, huh?
we quit going there. To be totally honest with you,
You what?
we quit going there.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna? It just got like weird. It just got lame. Like basic. I mean, to like in an oversimplified way, it just kind of was like there was. I don't know. A lot. It's weird. I mean,
I remember it almost exactly as you stated. It was like just bigger than life, and then it was just like,
yeah. And I don't know. And you know, I mean, I don't know what you know. I don't know if this is like explicitly like this. Obviously, like isn't the only reason, but like, you know, the fucking horrible coincidence is like heroin showed up. Nothing fucks up things quicker than that. Not like everybody was like doing it and that like, but all of a sudden it's like, you know, it's a small town to begin with, and then like the scene was even smaller, and then like, oh, so and so like OD, like what the fuck, you know, like that was part of the like fucking black cloud of like, bummer, and like that didn't exist that didn't, I mean, I don't know, I could be wrong. It's just my understanding of it. Like when I first started hanging out, and like that didn't exist really. If it did, it was like it wasn't like as part of it. And I mean I don't know. I mean that fucks things up in a hurry, and that I'm sure contributed to part of it just being like, just got to be a bummer. When people were like getting sick and people were dying and people were like being fuck ups, and like stealing from each other, or just like all of a sudden like, oh, my friend's a junkie now. I can never hang out with them ever again, and I can't talk to them, and I can't let them into my house because they'll steal my shit. That makes it not cool, and that feels like that's what was starting to go on. Kind of forgot about that, but yeah, I mean, that was like, I think that was part of it, I don't know.
When did you move?
97. I moved away from Olympia in 1997, moved to San Francisco. Yeah.
That issue is like something that I've thought about a lot of times, and the previous project that I did was largely about this issue of just being like heartbroken about the way that things, not only heartbroken, but I don't feel like that heartbroken aspect of it gets addressed. I feel like what you hear all the time is like everybody's like just the DIY rhetoric and the propaganda, like all the time, like it's a community, everybody do their part and everybody go out and do this stuff, which is all true, and I think it's important, but at the same time, I don't see a lot of recognition being paid to the fact that like, yeah, we were all brilliant and everything was all amazing in our early 20s and early teens, and then now so-and-so is dead.
Yeah.
So-and-so is got a horrible problem that they can never bounce back from.
Yeah.
And so-and-so is this. Is like, anybody thinking about this stuff? Like, don't we really care for each other? And aren't we, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and it was weird because it's not, I mean, it was weird because my sense of it is like, I mean, it was happening, I mean, it's like if you talking about like heroin happening, it was like, it was happening like separate from me. Like I was and like, that's sort of part of how it works. It's like it's like people aren't publicly junkies, you're not going to a party, so it's like, if you're not doing it, you kind of only know about it like, sort of like, I think this is happening over here. So it was kind of like that. So like my understanding of it is from that point of view of like, I'm kind of guessing, but I kind of know at the same time. I forgot what I was talking about. Jesus. Do you want me to go up there and see what they're doing? Is that okay? Is it really? It's kind of bad or what?
you'll know since you're wearing the things. How dire is it?
It's kind of bad, but like it goes in waves. Like they stop for a while.
Maybe I'll just look up there, just because I'm
Sure.
curious.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Feel the
But
drive.
I'll keep talking about what I was talking about. Hey, how's it going? Hi. It's neighbors like having a barbecue, so I can't really fuck with
Oh,
them.
okay.
I didn't know if it was like somebody like doing something
I
lame.
swear to God that they were like throwing like,
I know.
heater housing or something.
Yeah. I mean, if it was somebody else, I would have, oh, fuck, get out of here. But, so what I was saying was, I'm just giving my, sort of understanding my point of view on it, was like, obviously, like not obviously, but like not actually involved in it, but sort of like, what's wrong? Why is this person like never around anymore or whatever? But my sense is that it was never, it's like people knew that it was fucked up, but it's like no one ever did anything about it. Because it's like, I don't know why, but it was never like, I don't know. It was never dealt with. I think maybe no one knew how to deal with it because we were all young, and it was like this first time of like, oh, now so and so's like, you know, being a fuck up or something, or like doing drugs in a way that's like not cool at all. And I don't think like it wasn't like an immediate disaster, like where all of a sudden like a giant thing happened. It was more sort of like slow. So it was like anything, like it's hard to address something when it happens really slowly because you don't, at first it's like you don't notice it until it's like already sort of happening. And then, I don't know, it's almost like who wanted to be a cop, you know, in a way. And no, I don't think, I mean, I guess I didn't know how, I guess it's like, I didn't understand how serious it was until you saw like how it destroyed people's lives. Or like, you realize like you couldn't trust some people that were your friends. You can never like trust them again or something like that. And only like with getting older, a little older, it's like, oh yeah, that's what was going on. But at the time, it's like it wasn't. And people hid it. People could hide it, you know. I mean, that's the weird thing about like people that have drug problems is they learn how to hide it so they can deal. You know. So I think that was all going on at the same time, and that like I said, put a damper on the good times. And people were just getting older. People that were like making things happen were getting older and like maybe didn't want to be in bands anymore, or like disillusioned by it, or like just not into it and interested in other things, or like moving away. So things change, you know, it's just what happens. But it is interesting to think about, and I don't have really many people to talk to about it, but just like, what happened? You know, that question, it's like, I guess you're asking that question as part of what you're doing, you know. But it's a good question to ask in general, because it's people's lives. Not just like, oh, I was in a band and now I'm not in a band. At a point, like, who cares about that? But like, you know, there's bigger issues.
Well, personally, the way I feel, and I think a lot of other people feel this way, is that you know, not to be overly dramatic about it, but like bands, my band and other people's bands that I've talked to, I mean, like for me, it was like it was the first real, solid, positive family experience I
Sure.
ever had.
Yeah.
So for me, the music had little to do with it in some
Right.
ways. Like it was the first time it felt safe
Yeah.
and like productive and positive, and like this is.
And you felt in control. I think that was a large part of it too. It's like the first time you're kind of in control of your own life, you know? Like, yeah, like you're saying, it's like I'm in control of doing what I want to do, not what someone else wants me to do. And I decide how much energy I'm going to put into it. And I'm going to decide like what I get out of it. And for people that are just becoming like late teen, like getting out of high school and stuff, it's like, it's the first time ever that's been able to do that potentially for some people. Yeah, definitely.
Were the families supportive?
I don't know to the extent of everybody, but I think Jared's family was probably the most. Jared's mom was probably the most supportive of the band. She would show up at their shows sometimes. I don't think I ever met Chris's parents or Scott's parents. But Jared's mom was great. She would, you know, they practice at her house. And I don't know. It'd be interesting you should interview her. You know, I really think so. Definitely. I think she'd have a really interesting perspective on it because she was an adult, you know? And I think that she was kind of like, I mean, this is me just speculating, but I think mostly she just trusted Jared. That she trusted him, that like, well, I don't really understand what you're doing, but seems cool, like you're not like being a fuck up, you know? You're doing something. You're producing something. You know. I mean, Jared was involved in like performing arts and stuff like that in high school, so it's not that far of a leap, you know. And so, I think you should talk to her. You know.
I want to talk to all the parents. I mean,
Yeah.
'cause it's a familial thing as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
and what you're describing to me just sounds like love,
Yeah.
real love.
Yeah.
Because just being like, I have no idea what you're, I don't think
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah.
I trust you.
Yeah. And I don't know. And I, again, this is just speculation, but I don't know. I mean, Jared's mom may have offered some support to Chris and Scott that they didn't get from their family. You know, either in a major heavy way or in just like here's someone who's willing, here's an adult that's a parent that's letting us do this and is into it to the degree that they are, you know. So, which I don't think there was a lot of that for those guys, for Scott and Jared. I mean, Scott and Chris.
It was also my kind of personal idea too that it seemed like, because I guess it was right after the band started, right after Jared's parents split up. So he was kind of telling me that it was kind of like, she was like, oh, you know, he's working out. It's like,
Oh, really?
he's working out his eggs over the thing or whatever. But you know, it seems kind of like from living a little bit more life now than when I was younger and having similar experiences. Is that like people in that situation, like maybe in her situation, it's total speculation, but it's like let's not lose any more family members
Yeah.
by putting up too big of a fight about
Yeah.
something that someone clearly feels strongly about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty harmless behavior too. You know, playing music in the shack and you know, playing music in the like tool shed in the backyard with your friends from high school is pretty harmless as far as potential behavior, what teenagers could do. You know, especially teenagers that you might perceive as like being pissed off about things. It's a lot worse you could do. You know, I mean, and that's what's kind of like so incredible that option of being a band, making music, even existed. Because the energy that was in that band was in them. It had to go into something. You know, it had to go somewhere, or like you just would freak out or something. So, pretty positive place to put it into. You know. What else?
I want you, now that we've like gotten more comfortable, I want you to describe again, if you're not too tired, and
Yeah.
feel free to say no, but describe again like how you met them, how old everybody was,
Yeah.
what stage they were in with the band, and you know, kind of your relationship with them.
Yeah. I first met those Cart Boys when I think they were all maybe 18 years old or 19 years old. I think it was around 1993-ish, 92, 93. I could have the dates wrong. And I'm a couple years older than Jared, so I guess I was 21, 22 at the time. And I just met them by going to shows that they were playing at houses and stuff and seeing their band and just being a fan and then just meeting them. It's not that many people there. It wasn't that hard to meet people, you know, and just started hanging out with them. Sort of knew Chris first through a mutual, he lived with a guy who I was closer friends with, and so just started becoming friends with him first, and then took some photographs of them for their first record, and then just started hanging out with them more. and just being friends with them. They all lived together in a house for a while, and so I'd go over there and just hang out. Just a lot of hanging out. There's not really like any sort of formed, organized events or anything like that. Going to shows, going to parties, hanging out, and then eventually, when they were going on their first tour, they asked me to go with them and roadie for them. So I said yes. And they were 19, I think 19. I think they were all the same age, 19 at the time, 18, 19, and I was 22. So I'd buy them beer. It's hard to believe.
And you were there because you were going to school, or you had gone to school?
Yeah, I finished school. I moved to Olympia after high school and went to Evergreen State College and graduated in 93. Yeah. So I'd gone to college.
Did you talk about the turkey hand?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really
I never had one. The turkey hand T-shirt was so ridiculous. So there was this really they were really into bowling, and we would always, on tour, when we didn't have anything else to do, we would go bowling because it was cheap and it would take up a good few hours of time, and it was fun to go bowling. And it was always just another like laugh riot, just retarded. And so if you get 3 strikes in a row, it's called a turkey. And a strike is signified by an X, and so you'd have 3 X's on your scorecard, and that's called a turkey. So this was the time, so they were had to make a T-shirt design, and I don't know whose idea it was. It's probably Jared's idea. And the idea was the turkey hand T-shirt. So it's like a hand turkey, where you take your hand and you outline your hand, and then that becomes like, this is the head, and these are the feathers, and then on the outline you draw little feet, and then you draw a little waddle, and then the face, and that's the turkey. And so so Jared designed this T-shirt that said carp on the front, across the top, and then there was a hand turkey, and then 3 X's to signify the turkey that you bowled. And I don't think nobody knew what it was. It was just, I wish I had one because it was just like this dumbest thing ever, but it was great. And so before they would go on tour, they would have to make all their own shirts. So we'd be up in the K office, just like knowing them, it was like the night before we had to leave, and just screen printing all these turkey hand shirts. That's the turkey hand turkey shirt story. Yeah.
Oh,
It's a good one.
Yeah. Somebody has to have one.
yeah, I'm sure there is.
So I wonder if Jared, does he have like one of everything? Was
It
there?
doesn't sound like it.
No, because they didn't think about it that
No.
way. They just
It
like,
doesn't sound like he had anything.
I know,
but,
it's too bad.
2 videotapes. Because originally when I talked to him about the project, I was anticipating that it was going to be a lot easier to collect things. It's horribly hard.
Yeah, because no one thought about it in those terms. No one thought of like, we better like document this because it won't exist, or like we better take care and like collect these things. I mean, people collected the records because just people collecting records was sort of already a thing. But just all the other weird stuff. People didn't have video cameras like they do now, and people, but it's too bad that someone didn't hang on to like at least one of everything, because there's all kinds of stuff. Every tour there was like 1 or 2 shirt designs, and just like weird flyers and posters and recordings and all kinds of stuff.
The label doesn't keep any of that stuff?
Doubt it. It's just haphazard. I mean, they might. I have some stuff, but like all those weird, like all those T-shirts. It was like the wrestling, the T-shirt with the wrestlers. It was like a big orange square, and then like this weird sort of gross design that's like a close-up of these wrestlers. Jeez. So there's a wrestling T-shirt. There was like that bat T-shirt. There was the Mustaches Wild T-shirt with the drawing of the card, like the cutout cards. There was the hand turkey shirt. There was this weird shirt with like this kind of minotaur sitting at a computer. Um, what else was there? There's had to be a couple more. But there's just all this stuff. It's just gone. You know, it's too bad. I mean, I guess that's what happens. But it'd be nice if someone had kept one of each or something like that for the museum. But you don't think about it when you're in the midst of it. You're just like, we're just doing this right now. I mean, they especially didn't think about stuff like that, you know. They barely thought about it even in like foresight, let alone hindsight. It's like, oh, we better get this together, you know. So, because nothing was supposed to be anything, you know. It wasn't like a big master plan to be a big band. It was just like, oh, we're going on to we're making a record. You know, everything just like, I guess we need to make a T-shirt because we're leaving tomorrow, and you can sell shirts on the road and make money. You know, and that's kind of when it was like the most fun in a way, because like I said before, there was no expectations that it was like, we have to get paid and like, I'm gonna be pissed if we don't make any money and like all that stuff. But
What was their favorite place to stop, or your favorite place when you were with them?
where was fun? Trying to think. I mean, you'd meet, that is great. You'd meet like just these weird people everywhere that live in everywhere and staying at people's houses. Very rarely did we know where we were going to stay when we'd show up. And it would just be like either the person in another band, like the local band, you could stay at their house, or like just some weird random fan would let you stay at their house. And I can't remember like exactly a specific place that was always fun, but there were like lots of friendly people that helped us out.
I thought it was pretty cool. Jared was telling me that, and it seems like what happens is it's not really so much a transition of getting to the point where you make money and you start sleeping in a hotel, although there's a little fringe of that happening, but really it seems like what happens is that you just keep staying at the places that you enjoyed staying the most in the beginning and who you became friends with.
Yeah, because you make these friends, and it's weird. You make these friends that maybe you only see like once a year or twice a year, you know. But it was cool. I mean, when it got to the point of like, I mean, it was for them. It was like really minimal. But like staying in hotels every night, or motels, not hotels, but like staying in motels every night is like super boring. It's not fun at all. You know, like. For me, the most fun was just staying at weird people's, like going to weird people's houses and meeting these people and interacting with them and just like being in a weird situation and sleeping on the floor. But like going to like just motel to motel is pretty boring. But on the other hand, it's nice to have a bed and like your own space, because you kind of never have your own. Only the van is like your own space on tour. You know, you never like. So to go somewhere where you don't have to worry about, like, is their roommate gonna like be pissed if we're, you know, goofing around? So.
Yeah, and just tour itself was like a furnace, you know, where either things are forged or broken.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It was fun. I think people that have never done it think it's more fun than it is. Kind of sucks. I mean, sometimes. You know, but
What was the van like?
crappy and busted. They had two vans. The first van I don't remember exactly. I was in it, but I don't remember. It's hard for me to remember. It was sort of nondescript. But they got this second van that was a conversion van, which means that it was just a regular van, but it got turned into, somebody turned it into like, gave like nice captain's chairs and like carpet all the way around and put like a shell on the top. And at first it was really smooth because it was newer, kind of semi-new and nice and kind of comfortable, had space. But when they make a conversion van, they often will like cut the ceiling off, cut the roof off, or put windows in and stuff. All that stuff eventually just starts to leak, and everything's carpeted and soft and absorbent, so everything just becomes completely saturated with like cigarette smoke and like foot smell and then just like moisture. So it'd just be towards the end of that van, it was just so disgusting and just moist, and also it would sit in Olympia and parked for like 6 months, a year or something. I don't know. It would break. It sucked after a while. The van was shitty. It would break down. That's part of that last tour. That's a big part of that last tour being shitty and stressful, was that stupid van kept breaking down. And like getting flat tires all the time and stuff. I don't know.
Do you remember like the make of the van?
No, I'm sure Jared knows that. All that stuff. It was gray. It was gray on the inside and outside.
It's hard to not imagine a terrarium.
Yeah, I know there's like mushrooms and stuff growing in it. Yeah.
Oh, well, I feel like we got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the way you put things.
Thanks.
It's really great.
Good. That
So
wasn't-
my own yeah, sure.
Wasn't too like.
Oh, sorry. I was afraid that I was opening the door.
See what else I have all this record.
Bill, can you step back? I'm gonna just
Yeah.
shoot him getting it out of the...
You don't care about audio.
Well, I guess not.
You do.
So like, you know what I'm saying? Like this attitude here is different than this attitude here. It might be the same, but like, no more jokes.
Do you mind if I mic you for a second?
That's all right. This one. This is like a split that they did with the Rye Coalition, and I think that every one that they pressed has a skip in it or something. Like you can't. It's like a fucked up record or something. You can't really listen to it. That's that one. Want me to show you these? This one, this one, this one, and all these 7 inches. This is the first. Great. What else?
So you, when you get these records, like, before, did you
I
get
bought
any-
them all at once last month on eBay. It cost me like $800. I just bought them when they came out. They would. Well, I didn't buy any of them. They gave them to me when they came out. So I took pictures. I took these pictures. I took this picture. I did buy this one. This is the only carp record I ever bought. Because this is before I was friends with him. So I bought this one and then the rest they gave me. Sorry.
You said you were a fan, or you were friends with them.
So I got to be their friends. What else? It's all right. This one's
So
great.
just shoot them.
All these 7 inches are so great. This one's pretty. This is their last record. And I don't even know if this. Do you know this one? Did this come out after they? This come out after they weren't really. I mean, there wasn't like a breakup. Like this day we are no longer a band. But this was kind of like this came out, and I think it was more like it's kind of already over.
My remembrance of it was that it was like early June of like '98, because we were leaving on a tour, our first tour. A couple weeks later, we went to go see a show that never happened.
Yeah.
But they did. And then I feel like that came out right after that. That's the Up
Yeah.
single.
Hello.
Seen that one?
That one? Oh, that's like. There was a band, Long Hind Legs, in Olympia, and Long Hind Legs covered a Carp song, and Carp covered a Long Hind Legs song. Here's the notes. Hmm?
I'll make sure to film a lot of this one because I think this one's gonna be. I have. Huh? I have most of these with this one.
Jared has all this stuff, right? I mean, he's got to have all these records.
I don't know.
What?
I don't know what he.
He's got to have all the records, I'm sure.
I probably. I mean, I have one.
Yeah.
Most of them. Oh, okay.
Yeah, go talk to Justin about that whole project.
Yeah. Actually, let me get his name.
Yeah.
Contact.
Where'd I put my phone? Thanks. Talk to